All right, it's week 6, module 6, and this week the module was on financial market effects on industry trends. And I chose to do my presentation and my video journal on stocks and risks. And I chose that this week because honestly, it made sense to me. I do have a retirement account through work, and I kind of went from knowing nothing at all about that to this kind of making sense when talking about diversification and portfolios. So that's what caught my interest about it. So we're going to start with understanding risk, and there's common risk, and our class slideshow talked about an example of this would be a flood, where all the homes in a flooded area become damaged due to the flood. And so similarly, this risk would affect all stocks. There's an independent risk. These are not related to each other. An example of this would be a fire at a particular house, but it doesn't affect other homes in the neighborhood. And then diversification is the averaging of independent risks in a large portfolio. And so the risk of an individual security is different from the risk of a portfolio of securities. And that leads us into the two types of risks associated with owning stock. So there's unsystematic risks. And according to our textbook, these are fluctuations of the stock's return that are due to company or industry specific news. They're unrelated across the stocks, and in a kind of visual example that they used is theft across houses, where a thief might just hit and miss in a neighborhood. It doesn't affect all houses, just specific ones. And then there's systematic risks. And according to our textbook, it's fluctuations of a stock's return that are due to market-wide news. And this affects all stocks. And an example of this in the textbook they used would be earthquakes. And so if there's an earthquake, it's affecting all the homes in the area. So that was a visual to see how it would affect all the stocks. Some more information on risks would be the volatility of a portfolio is the total risk of a portfolio as measured by the standard deviation. We can reduce the risk by combining stocks in a portfolio, and this is called diversification. The amount of risk eliminated depends on the degree to which the stocks move together. And the amount of unsystematic risk is reduced to almost zero when the number of stocks in a portfolio reaches 25. However, the systematic risk is not reduced no matter how many stocks you have. And so along with risks, this week it talked about the relationship between risks and return. And so I also just touched briefly on the expected return of a portfolio. And our class presentation had stated that unsystematic risk can be eliminated from a portfolio if it is constructed properly. And to calculate the expected return of the portfolio, you have to know the weight of each investment in the portfolio and its expected return. And so it went on to give definitions of portfolio weights, the return of a portfolio, and the expected return of a portfolio. And so in my presentation I had listed those, but what caught my eye was figuring out what the weights of the stocks in a portfolio could be and how to figure that out. And so if you have 10 stocks in a portfolio and it values $50,000 and stock A is worth $20,000, and then its portfolio weight would be $40,000, and that's $20,000 divided by $50,000. So that caught my eye. I thought that was interesting. And then talking about ethical dilemmas when it comes to the stock market, which was fun to think about. I found a quote online from Albert Einstein that says, "Most people say that it is the intellect which makes a great scientist. They are wrong. It is character." And I think that you could take out scientists and replace that with any profession. I think you are made by your character. And so I was just kind of thinking about a person's character in this business and their morals and the example that they set, and how important it would be to set a good example and know what you stand for and have good morals. And so my Bible verse is 1 Corinthians 15:33, which says, do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. And that's just a reminder that you are the company that you keep, and the influence that others can have on you, as well as the influence you can have on others. And so that's my presentation for Module 6, Week 6.